Great. So yeah, let's get into it. I think like we did last time for our Ask Me Anything, we'll take the pre-submitted questions from students. Aaron and I can take turns tackling them, and then we can open it up at the end to other folks who want to give us other questions on the fly. So first question, which Aaron, if you want to tackle this one, which courses are we going to be offering in the Data Analyst Bootcamp?
Yeah, so I think here the easiest way to kind of talk about this is to talk about the bootcamp curriculum a little bit. So overall, there's 7 different parts to the curriculum that we're going to be covering over the kind of 12-week period. The first section, it's really all about learning to think like an analyst, and here we're going to cover things like how to successfully launch a career in analytics. We'll talk about measurement planning and data visualization and storytelling, and that really serves as a kind of an introduction into some of the tool specific sections. And so for the specific tool sections, we're going to first jump into Excel, and there's 5 different courses that make up that Excel section. After Excel, we're going to jump into Power BI, and Power BI has 3 different courses. After Power BI, we'll go into Tableau. Tableau has 3 different courses within that section, and then we'll round out the tool specific focus with MySQL, which also has 3 courses there.
Last but not least.
Yeah, certainly not. Certainly not the case. So, and then again, like in addition to each of the courses within each of those sections, there's also going to be group projects that you'll have to complete before moving on to the next section. So once you kind of work through that introduction and then those 4 tools sections, we're going to wrap up with a capstone project, and then a career guide section where we'll cover kind of tips and resources to help land you to help you get a job. And it's in this section where we'll do things like live resume review, mock interviews, networking tips. We'll do some kind of one-on-one coaching here. And again, this whole section here is geared to it's the kind of execution against helping you get a job. So all in all, if you look at it just from a course content standpoint, there's 16 different courses that you'll work through, plus the group projects, the capstone project, resume, workshop, and all that stuff. So there's quite a bit of content throughout the boot camp.
Yeah, it's going to be busy. So hopefully that got those questions answered. I'll take this next one. Let's see. How can a person gain data analyst skills without having any prior experience in the data analytics field? So this is one we get all the time. People who are trying to break into the field. It's one of the main reasons people come to Maven to pick up those skills or to accelerate an early career. So, I mean, I think the first step is just understanding what are all the things that you might be doing as a data analyst. What are all the tools that you might be using? And kind of the other component, like Aaron talked about, kind of how a data analyst needs to think, and then developing the skills in those areas. So developing skills with the technical tools. So basically a lot of the things that Aaron just mentioned, there's others too, but we've picked our stack for a reason, because they're just tools that are everywhere. Excel, Power BI, Tableau, SQL. You're going to get a lot of mileage from learning those things. And so those are awesome ones to start. Other things I'd recommend, if you're going more data science, you could pick up Python or R. Today, we're not really focused on those. We focus more on the business intelligence data analyst side, but definitely just getting your hands dirty with those tools is probably step one. I think really working on your understanding how to apply them to business challenges, trying to develop your business acumen, that's huge as well. And basically the best way to do that is on the job. And then just because there really is no substitute from spending 40 or more hours a week using these things as a data analyst and solving real business problems. But the next best thing is trying to do projects that are job simulated. And that's like a lot of the stuff that we do is really geared towards sort of situations that are just like you would find in the real world. You're given a prompt, you have a data set that you need to analyze, you need to clean, you need to connect, like all the stuff that you really would do in order to succeed as an analyst. These are the things that you're doing in these in the best projects. They're really simulating that type of experience, and I think those would be my biggest things. Just learning these tools and trying to do as many different projects with them as possible, because you learn the tool once with one thing, it's you have some of the knowledge, but if you can just keep applying it to, like, okay, I learned this on a marketing challenge, now I'm going to apply this same thing in supply chain management challenge, you realize a lot of the data challenges are pretty similar. And now you're learning more about different areas of the business, and it's really solidifying that knowledge. So that's what I'd recommend. My long-winded answer on that one. So
yeah, one of the fun things here too, like when you're kind of, and I used to do this or encourage other analysts to do this too, is it's like and John kind of covered this, where it's like thinking like the business owner or the director of a team. And it's like, what types of questions would you ask if you were in that position to try to, increase sales or increase your return on ad spend in a marketing example, or drive more revenue, or launch a new product, or where's the next best opportunity to create a new brick and mortar location. And it's like, start thinking about, questions in that type of context, and then go into the data. And it's like, maybe you need to bring in weather data to supplement that, or traffic data or something like that. And it's like, you can really go down a rabbit hole at that point,
Yep. Totally. Absolutely. So next, let's talk about this next one. It's fortunate that this is Aaron's question. He's probably the perfect person to talk about this. Do you need to learn both Power BI and Tableau?
Yeah, so again, good question. And I'll answer that with an affirmative yes, but then kind of add a caveat to it. And I say yes. So for the purpose of the boot camp, right? Like the whole idea here is that, we're helping people land a job, right? And Power BI and Tableau are two of the most kind of prevalent tools that companies are using for BI. There's certainly some other ones that are being used out there, but it is as part of this bootcamp, you're going to learn both of these tools to the extent that you can go into a company or go into a job interview and be confident in your skill set in both of them. What may end up happening is you go to a company and they specifically use Tableau. Now, as part of the bootcamp, you actually get access to the entire Maven course library, for life, which means that you can take other courses that we offer in Tableau to really kind of build and solidify that skill set in Tableau specifically, if that's where you need to, really need to focus based on what the job job requirements are. But again, like there's really not, there isn't much harm in learning both Power BI and Tableau. They're different and similar enough that both skill sets, like learning them, at a basic level, it will really only help you. I know it helped me throughout my career to learn different BI tools, because a lot of the concepts and principles translate to other tools, and just helps better prep you for the different BI tools that you may run into in the future.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's such a good point, Aaron, that like if you know Power BI, it's easier to learn Tableau than if Tableau is the first kind of BI tool that you've ever used, for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And one of the most interesting things, and I know I've talked to you about this before, John, is it's like SQL is actually a fundamental part of a lot of these BI tools, where it's like, say you go into a company that is using an enterprise version of Domo, right? A lot of the ETL process in Domo is done with SQL.
Yep.
right? And it's like same thing with Tableau. A lot of the formula language, it's a very familiar kind of case when statement, when you're creating logical conditions within the measures and stuff within Tableau. Power BI is a little bit of a different animal with DAX and M and that kind of stuff. But again, it's learning these tools will only help you throughout your career, and because you're bound to run into other BI tools as you go on.
Yep. So yeah, so then Aaron, let me put you on the spot. So I think it's easy to say, you should learn both if you have the opportunity, right? And if time was no object, if you had to pick one right now as a brand new analyst, which one would you pick? I have a feeling I know which one you're going to answer.
So Power BI, and I learned that the hard way. I started off my analytics career in Excel, and I was using Excel and relational databases. So I learned Excel and SQL early on.
Yeah.
From there, I started working on a client that their organization used Tableau, and so I started learning Tableau. And I was an analyst as part of a marketing team, and we were running into issues using Tableau in a way that allowed us to scale the data size and complexity using Tableau. And Power BI actually allowed us to create a lot of the relational data models within the tool, do a lot of the ETL. The sharing of reports was a lot easier and more cost efficient actually for the client using Power BI service. So from my point of view, while they both do a lot of the same things, I give the edge to Power BI from a kind of end-to-end development standpoint.
Yeah.
And then I throw learning SQL on top of both of those. Like if
Yeah.
I was recommending a path for a new analyst, it would be Excel and SQL 1 and 2, and then it's Power BI for my
Then it's
pick for the BI.
visualized.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really smart. With Excel being so easy to get started with, and we've got Reem in the chat is agreeing wholeheartedly with you here.
Yeah.
Thank you, Reem. Yeah, I think I would agree with that too. SQL kind of unlocks the power of the relational database and is just unbelievably flexible. And then, like you said, that knowledge can be repurposed in Power BI and Tableau when you want to put on that visualization layer, if you're not getting what you want out of what Excel can do for you visualization wise, which I did for years. So yeah, awesome. Yeah. That's fantastic. I knew what you were going to say. Obviously, you're the Power BI guy. You're the DAX legend. So I knew where you were going, but I wanted to hear it. So that's great. All right. So here we've got, I think this one's me. What approach do I follow to get a job in my scenario as I'm a fresh graduate? Sometimes as a data analyst, most of the company's requirements are hard to my understanding, and I feel not confident to apply for big companies. So this one was, I think, pretty similar to what somebody had asked us last time. Basically, like, I'm reading these job descriptions. They seem absurd with all the requirements that they have. Like, they want you to take an entry-level salary, but you need 5 years of SQL and 3 years of Power BI. And I think basically the same thing here, and it totally stinks that they present like that, and it's pretty common, I think, for a lot of people trying to break in to be intimidated. I think that the quick soundbite is don't be scared away from these things. They're wish lists. They're obviously not true requirements. When you think about it, nobody with 5 years of SQL is taking that entry level job, right? Like, nobody with 3 years of Power BI. Like, once you have that much job experience, you're super hot commodity that companies are going to be fighting over. And so they put this stuff together because, yeah, it would be great if they found this magical unicorn person that has every single skill. I mean, the reality is, like, you look at an entry level description, and sometimes there may be even descriptions that are so ridiculous that like Aaron and I wouldn't look 100% qualified. Like, maybe we check 80 or 90% of the boxes, but we don't have one certain tool set. That doesn't mean we wouldn't be great in that role, and I think that's the thing you want to keep in mind. It's a wish list. It's not a true requirement. the key thing that they really want is somebody who's going to do great in that role. You may end up using some of the tools in that requirement, but you're probably not really using all of the skills that they put together in that requirements list anyway. You're probably focusing on 2 or 3 of them tops. So I think that's my advice, is don't be scared away. If you see it and it looks like you have some of the skills, go for it anyway. Try to really lean into the skills that you do have. And just know that some of the people writing those descriptions, it's not as clear when it says requirement that really it's a wish list. So that's what I got for you on that one. So Aaron, this one will be for you. How can we get exposure and practical knowledge to real life based scenarios by doing end-to-end projects? If we can get some hands-on experience, can you suggest some good resources for projects? So what would you say there?
Yeah, so I feel like we've kind of touched on this a little bit already in some of the previous questions, where it's like, this is kind of one of the most frequent questions that we get, because it feels like a kind of like the catch-22 scenario where you need a job to get practical real world experience, but job listings are saying, hey, it's required that you have at least 1 or 2 years experience, right? And one of the things, and John mentioned this earlier, one of the things that we do with all of our courses is we create these real world scenarios within the courses. So it's like, John, I'll use your advanced MySQL data analysis course, for example, right? Throughout that course, you're learning how to use SQL to respond to real world scenarios and projects based on requests that are coming from key stakeholders within a company, right? So it mimics like emails or Slacks or some sort of communication that you would get from the director of a team or the CMO or something like that is asking you very specific questions. And in that course, you're working with an e-commerce data set where the scenarios mimic real world scenarios that you would actually encounter. We can say that because myself, John, Chris, Jason, Enrique, the whole team, like we've all worked in these types of jobs where we've received these types of requests. So we build our courses and a content in a way that mimic, kind of the real life scenarios as closely as possible. The other thing to keep in mind with the way that the boot camp is set up is that this is also the purpose of these group projects, right? And then the final capstone project too, where you're going to be presented with specific scenarios for each of those projects that are based on, business cases or business scenarios. And then you need to use a specific tool or a set of tools to then develop the solution for that. So kind of that end-to-end, development within a tool or using multiple tools.
Yep.
In terms of good resources, I couldn't really think of a place to get, like project specific resources, but what we do is we source our data sets, kind of from, 2 or 3 different places. There's 2 online resources that I really like. One's called Kaggle Datasets. Another place is called data.world. And those are great places to go get, free data sets. You can get single file or multi-table, type data sets there. And again, like all of the courses in the Maven library contain different data sets that are available for download. And then we have the data playground as well, where you can download, and play with data sets that we've kind of collected and curated. So
I'll echo the data playground one. I think go there. It's mavenanalytics.io/data-playground, and everything there is a free resource. You basically you go there, you download these CSV files that have also have descriptions of what the files contain, kind of what you should expect in each column. So you get all this rich data. And the best part I think about that is it has these prompts for recommended analyses. And so you could just go there and you could spend a whole bunch of time just going through those. I think that's a great place to get started. And then after you feel comfortable, like if you exhaust yourself there, think about what is it that you're really excited about? Like, are you excited about the stock market? see if you can actually get your hands on some real stock data, start asking some questions that are genuinely interesting to you that you'll want to dive into. If you just absolutely love sports, like pick your sport, see if you can get some statistics there. Whatever it is that you could get fired up about, try to find some data that's available and just start asking questions about it, because that's really what analysts are doing. Typically for a business, we're asking questions that make more money, save costs, try to keep customers happier, things like that. But we are asking those questions and getting the answers that help steer the business. And so just do that with anything that interests you, and just keep going. I think would be great. So awesome. I think we might have one more here. When is the part-time edition starting? Obviously. So we are not sure. But it's definitely starting. I think that's for sure. We've had so many people ask us, hey, when are you going to do this part-time program? Because I would love to do the boot camp, but just 30 hours of full-time commitment during the week, during largely business hours, is not going to work for me. And people are looking for an evening edition. So I think we're kind of have a pretty wide range still of when we might kick this off, from as early possibly if there's enough demand, as like October 1st. But I'd say that's probably feels pretty rushed, to more likely sometime in 2022. Maybe that's like a February, sounds pretty realistic. Maybe it's April, something like that. But like we said, if we really have a ton of interest, which we kind of have been seeing lately, and now I think we're actually going to try to go to market with it a little bit more, we may bump that up even sooner. So that's kind of where we're at. It's not a firm answer that we can give you right now, but we're absolutely going to do it. We think so many people would benefit from it. We wanted to first approach the people who don't have a job yet, who want to land a job, and help them. And then we were going to tackle the part-time program. And so let me take this question real quick from Reem. So Parttime Bootcamp, will it include weekly live meetings? What are your suggested time to suit my time zone? Yeah, so this is an awesome question. And this is one of the things. There's a few different things that we need to solve for when we go part-time, not if, and that's the time zone. And I think, so first is when we go to the part-time program, we will open it up outside the US. And basically that does create these time zone challenges where in the full-time program right now, it's US only. And that kind of allows these group projects to happen with people that are basically within 3 hours of each other. So there's a lot of working overlap. When we open it up globally, that gets a lot more complicated. So I think what we would do is we take a look at everybody who is participating in the boot camp and try to figure out the times that would work for the most people most conveniently. Have everything recorded and distributed for people who can't make those. We may have situations where certain sessions are really important, and we want to make sure everyone can actually do it live, and we may run two versions of that particular session. Others can be more of a nice to have. So if you don't make it, it's okay, but we'd still maybe want you to watch the recording at some point. So Reem, what time zone are you in, and kind of what are sort of all the optimal times that might work for you? Yeah, and I think I put out a survey earlier to a lot of people that had come into the boot camp, and I can share a little bit. It seemed like people were sort of mixed on, would my employer allow me to get some time during the day after 7 p.m. Yep. Okay. 7 p.m. during the week. I think that's pretty common to say during the week and evenings. I think most people so far have seemed not super interested in at least having live sessions during the weekends. I think some people are planning on using some weekends for self-study time, but the live sessions seemed to not be super attractive on the weekends, which I certainly understand. People not wanting to have obligations and wanting to be able to be with family. So, okay, great. Yeah, thanks, Reem. I think that makes sense. So that's noon our time, 9 a.m. on the West Coast. So that's that for you, I think it works. It's going to be trickier for yeah, it's going to be tricky coordinating all this, but that's definitely one of the things that we're continuing to work out. So that's helpful. What other questions? Anybody have anything else you guys want to cover while we have folks on the line? All right, cool. Well,
So we'll take that as a no.
Yeah, I'll take that as a no. Thanks, everybody. Reem, appreciate your questions, and thanks to everybody who did pre-submit questions as well. And always fun to talk about this stuff. And we'll look forward to next time we all get together and chat about bootcamp. And thanks a lot, Aaron, for joining us on this too.
You got it.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care, everybody. Bye.
All right. Bye, guys.